You want to be an architect?
Maybe a truck driver?
Maybe a realtor?
Something in the medical field?
Huh. Listen to career paths and audit on that.
Thursdays. Guess I should have had this one ready first. Cause it's,
Yeah. Fake it till you make it. Nice. Okay.
All right, are you guys ready?
I feel like I was here just before. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Like a week ago or something like that.
Something like that. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Both ready?
I guess so.
All
All
right.
right. Do is screw it up and
Yeah, all we can do is that.
go ahead and clap away. Welcome to Career Paths. Oh, see, I already screwed it up. Thank you. Take two. Welcome to Career Paths by Infonet. I'm the host, Victor Boudreau. Our guest today is Kristi Evenson.
Thank you.
Had to get that one right. Haven't get my flipping. Today we're talking about real estate, all the ins and outs, little goodies about becoming a realtor.
Realtor, yeah.
Realtor. Give us a little background on yourself, like family, age, rank, serial number.
Well, married for 30 years, forever,
Awesome.
forever, very married.
Nice. Kids?
2 children. We have got a 25-year-old and a 22-year-old.
So grandmother yet?
We're grandparents, yeah.
Nice. Anything else we should do? That really? What else you do besides?
What else do I do besides real estate?
Yeah.
Just basically living with my family, just taking care of my granddaughter right now,
There you
and sending husband to work, taking care of the house. That's pretty much
Nice.
my life. And
Okay.
then when he takes off, I work out and I get busy working.
Right. So where were you where were you and what were you doing when you decided to get into real estate?
Okay, so 10, 11 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, when you researched real estate, you didn't have online MLSs like you do now. Or
MLS. What's an MLS?
Multiple listing service.
Okay, thank you.
Everything was kind of done by fax.
Old school.
If you wanted to search properties, you had to wait for the Sunday paper, and that's where
Yeah,
realtors
wow.
listed all their properties at. And so I'd circle properties and I'd go look, and my husband's like, hey, why don't you look into getting into real estate? And so I did, took the test online, and then passed the state exam first try and went to work.
So did you say state exam? I know I know basic information on it. So go into that a little bit more to become certified to sell for just the state of Washington.
The state of Washington,
Okay.
and each state has their own
Individual?
tests.
Okay.
Individual tests.
So what did you just go online, take the test? Did you take any classes
you go
before?
online and you take your tests, and then there's tests. You learn your criteria, and then there's tests to instill a criteria, just your typical studying. But then you're supposed to take all this material and go down to and take the state test, and that's the biggie. And if you fail, you fail. You have to retake it.
And every time there's a cost
There's
for every
a
time?
cost. There's a cost. There's a cost for the courses, and then the cost for the
Okay,
test,
sure.
and then there's a
Always
cost
taught.
for the associations, and then there's cost, of course, for any office supplies.
Right. All right. So associations, what is that per se?
The Spokane Association of Realtors. It's the Realtor Association.
The local area?
There's realtors. There's some realtors who don't join associations,
Okay.
and they're mostly in the Seattle area. Here in Spokane, most realtors join the association. It's kind of a vetting system. If you have
Okay.
a realtor that is part of the association, you're supposed to have more of a vetted realtor. We've gone
Okay.
through fingerprinting, background checks.
Oh wow, they really get into it.
Of
Make
course,
sure.
we're taking care of one of the biggest expenses in your
That's
life.
true. That's true. So let's see. So back in the day, how did you get more information on it? Because obviously the internet isn't what it is today.
Well,
it's
that's
getting-
part of joining the associations. We have access as realtors to exclusive listing properties. Just all the internet information that's the most accurate. The stuff that's out there in Zillow, it's not as accurate. So
Okay.
to work with a realtor, it doesn't cost you anything. We can set up searches, and it's the most accurate information out there. And it will help a lot of home buyers in their frustration trying to find something, because what's out there on the Zillows and such isn't totally accurate.
But for you personally, when you started 11, 12 years ago, getting into it, you talked about looking in the paper, Sunday paper, and doing more. What did you do more for your own education to further what you're doing today?
As far as realtor, it's just hands-on. Every
Okay.
transaction is different. Every transaction has its own set
Unique.
exactly circumstances, and so it helps to hire a realtor to go through all the different steps that it's going to take to purchase a home. Make sure you have clear title and getting connected with the title companies to do that.
There's a lot to go with it, isn't there?
There's a lot involved in it.
Yeah. What challenges did you face when you started and getting into it and becoming a realtor? As in, besides, I'm sure there's differences, customers on either side, the seller, the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
But what challenges did you face personally?
Always challenges with buyers and sellers. It makes a lot of
sure.
the fun, and you learn a lot on how to. They come at you with a panic, and you're the professional. And even though you're panicking, you got to make sure that they don't see you panicking, and you just basically go into professional mode. It's just weird thing that takes over, and you just
right. No, I understand. It's kind of like right now I could be panicking because we're on camera, but
I kind of am. But.
It's trust me, we can edit anything out and make you look better than
Yay.
Yeah. Was your family supportive? Your husband supportive of this?
Absolutely supportive. Yeah, he's always been my biggest cheerleader back
Awesome.
there. Yeah, our children also. They're right behind me. Anything mom needs to get the business, we take care of it.
So, basically, I've never dealt with this personally. I've never had to sell or buy at this point. You believe it or not, thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
But before a sale, what would you say would be the biggest challenge for a buyer and seller? What would be the biggest before a sale?
Before a sale, okay, for a buyer, you need to know how much you're going to qualify for. So never go searching on the MLS or on the internet without talking to a lender and seeing if you even qualify in the first place.
Right.
Because any realtor if you don't have a pre-qualification, most realtors won't work with you until that's in place, just because it is a waste of our time. As a buyer's agent, we work for free.
Right.
So we need to make sure we've got qualified buyer in there, so we can hopefully fund them a property, and eventually, maybe 2 to 3 months down the road, get a paycheck. If the place falls apart before then, you don't get paid. You just work for 2-3 months for free.
Right. But you have multiple listings while you're doing this.
Not necessarily.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it just comes and goes. I work mainly referrals, so I'm not sitting there cold calling or sending cold text to people.
Okay. That's right. We were talking that camera before it started.
Yeah, it's all referral business for me.
But you've been doing it, so you get pretty good referral base at this point, do you believe?
Pretty good referral base. I'm just do my job, and hopefully the blessings keep coming.
Right. So after the sale, what do you do? What's the biggest advantage, challenge, or what would, if somebody knows that hasn't done this like me? What would I need? What should I know?
Well, if you're going to be selling a home, you should probably talk to a realtor and have them come through your home and make sure it's going to show in the best light, whether that's just removing personal items from the walls, maybe taking some clutter out, renting a pod or something, just to get some clutter out of the home, because you want the top best dollar. And if you've got so much stuff in there, people can't see their stuff in there. So that's something you can do, is to bring a realtor and talk to you about that. And then also, if that realtor is worth anything, they should come at you with your net proceeds also, to see what your bottom line is going to be, because there's costs to selling a home.
Okay.
So if they're just going to, I can sell it for that, and you don't see the costs, such as your commissions, they're not set in stone, they're negotiable. But then there's excise tax. The state wants that; they want their part of it.
Government always wants their money.
Yeah, closing costs. If you got land and acreage, there's well and septic involved there. There's just little things.
These are all things that's why we want people to know. That's why we're doing this, so people can have a little more information, whether they're looking into the career of doing this as a realtor, or even if they're just checking out and they run across this and get information. It just helps them to know what to do and when to do and how to do it. When you first started doing the school end of it, I'll use that as technical, because you said you did an online test.
It's an online course.
Okay.
Yeah, 90 hours now, I believe it is.
Wow. And what was the hardest thing about starting that and doing that?
Just finding the time to do it, because I worked full time for.
What were you doing? just back then besides?
Dental assisting.
Okay,
I did dental
wow.
assisting for 25 years. I worked full time up till 2 years ago.
Wow.
So I still work dental assisting
Okay.
and real estate. Surprise, surprise, most people look at homes after they get off work. So it worked really well. So
Okay.
there are a lot of part-time realtors, but there's no such thing as part-time realtor. Being in real estate is full-time.
Because you never know when somebody wants to go do see.
You never know. Every
Monday,
day,
Tuesday, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
there's nothing set in stone. Every day can change.
Right, right. What was the best part when you started doing this? What was the funnest for you?
I love the treasure hunt, finding the home for my buyers.
Do you sit down usually with a client and go over their needs and their wants?
We all always talk,
Okay.
and today people are connected so much. You're texting all the time. You're Facebook messaging.
Yeah.
You're always on, and sometimes I have to say, just so you know, I go to bed at 8 o'clock. It's my shut off time at night.
Right.
You know.
So if you expect something, don't expect. Tell
yeah,
I'll respond the next day.
Kind of a 9 to 8. I think that's plenty of time for me to be available during
Sure.
the day.
Did you enjoy the school end of it, or
I enjoy being out in the field way more, of course, but there's continuing education also. So
Right.
you've got your courses, you've got your license now, and then every 2 years you have to get recertified by the state. So you have to have continuing education.
Okay.
That's another 30 hours every 2 years.
Wow? And when you're doing that for yourself, how do you put that into your time?
I do not like online classes at all. I think they're turned into double time. So I just go right in class. I prefer to go sit in a class. So
Okay.
I find time, and the industry puts on classes all
Okay.
the time.
Where would somebody looking to find the information?
Well, once you're a realtor, you have different connections out there through closing companies or the SAR. They put on classes because we have core classes,
Okay.
code of ethics, how to.
Ethics in selling?
There is a big thing of code of ethics, and I have that right by my desk. Darn it, and I'll bring it out if I need it.
Nice.
Oh yeah, it's all about the ethics.
You talking about? Do you run into other realtors without mentioning names that don't seem to?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not asking for
I had a
information.
deal from hell this last spring, and I don't know if I'll ever work with that realtor again.
All right.
But now I've learned a lot from it, and that's if you don't learn something new every deal, even if it was a really hard one, you want to pull out your hair.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
We got the deal done.
Wow. What obstacles for you doing this over the years? What would be a consistent? What are some obstacles that you face?
You're just not guaranteed a paycheck.
Right.
I mean, this isn't you every paycheck, every 2 weeks you get a check to put it into the bank. It's it just really depends. I did 12 12 sites last year, and that's one a month.
Right.
That's probably pretty good. I like to work that pace. There's some that do work more. I'm an independent. I don't work on teams. I work by myself. So when you work with me, you work with me. We don't have Sally, Susie, Peter, Tom. You know, we don't have to go through these levels of people. As your cell progresses, you're working with one person. A lot of teams work well together. I'm just not a
Team person on that?
not in that sense, only because I don't think it uses all your skill set. You kind of get stuck doing one thing here, one thing here, one thing, because you're on this team. You know, you got the pitcher, the catcher,
Okay.
and we're independent. You have to, like myself, you have to do it all yourself.
Right.
So you just
That pushes you to be a better,
it
more
pushes you,
knowledgeable.
because if you're not, you're gonna get in trouble somehow.
I've heard stories. I do know some other realtors. I've not interviewed them like this, so I don't have the details. But I hear horror stories.
There's probably some out there. We hear them all the time, and this scares us, and we try to stay the heck. Code of ethics.
Right, right. What misconceptions?
Easy
Would you-
money. I'm not even gonna let you finish that question. Real estate.
It's not easy money?
It's not easy money. They all think it's easy money. They're gonna get their license, and they're gonna be raking in these.
I've actually thought about doing it one time, and it's like,
It's tough.
Yeah, I would imagine.
You gotta have a backbone
Yeah, that's
and learn to use that backbone. Sometimes you can get pushed over in the business really easy.
right.
But you
By
gotta be
customers
tough.
or other.
Both. You're gonna get pissed on
Right.
one or the other. It just
Right.
depends. And hopefully, you know, you do a good job and you get your referral business out there.
Right. Do you market yourself?
Market myself, just being me.
Just
Just Facebook. I don't sit and put my face on a billboard or send out flyers necessarily. I've tried a little bit of that, and it's just,
it
I'd
doesn't
rather
work?
just
Okay.
work person to person.
Right. So just word of mouth, pretty much, and
Word of
just do
mouth.
what you do,
That's
and make it happen.
all I do. Make it happen.
So, time in the office or time in the field, which to me, for my and you can clarify, because to me, in the office you're on the phone, you're looking up for information, for titles, whatever other information. So actually clarify that. So when you're out in the office, what are you doing?
Researching properties mainly. When we do get into under contract and things, when you were talking about title, preliminary titles come to us, and we're supposed to research and make sure everything looks good in there. Because sometimes when you sell a home, you can have liens on them. People can put liens on them, even contractor liens.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask. What stands a lien against whatever for? Yeah. So it make it so
State
you
of
want
Washington, such as elderly, sometimes they have care that the state will just put a lien on their property for some reason.
Okay.
If you're having any kind of work done on your home under a contractor, they'll put liens on it just to make sure they get paid.
Okay.
Sometimes they remove them, sometimes they don't. And that's why we hire the title company, and that's part of a seller cost and a buyer cost. It's a 50-50 thing. We hire a title company so they can clear title for the new buyer.
Okay.
So sometimes that means the seller's going to have to, they can't sell this house
Right,
until we
unless
clear
it's
title.
right, correct.
So they got to take care of these liens and such. But it's our job to catch that. Or if there's divorce involved, or anything like that, that can sign red flags that could slow down a property sale.
Right. Even if everything else is go, that means no.
Exactly. You just never know. And then, you just got to stay on top of your buyers and sellers. You keep that nose clean. We're almost to the finish line.
Right. Okay.
No credit, no buying cars, no buying furniture for the new house.
Yeah, don't get excited till it's done.
Number one rule in real estate: don't cash that check until it's, don't spend that money until you cash that check.
Right.
Because the deal can fall apart last second.
So, what else do you do in the office? That would be your primary. How much? Let's say, what percentage of your time between the two, field in the office or in the field? Which ones do you do more?
Both. It
balances out.
It really
over time.
balances, because I wake up with lists to take care of in the morning, and so I just work through all my clients, and then of course there's some downtime.
Sure.
But then I'm going to be maybe sending out letters to my client base or something.
Gotcha.
You just use it. With real estate, there's a lot of flexibility in your schedule.
Right.
So even though you're not working full time in an office,
Right.
you're still always working.
Right. There's always something going on.
Always.
So, time in the field. What are you doing when you're in the field, out of the office?
Usually you're just looking at houses with clients. So that could be 5 at a time. I usually try not to do more than that, because that can get really, really overloady for people. I figure by the time they've got 5 homes under their belt, we got an idea of what they're looking at. We should be able to. We're not going to be looking at 30 homes with me.
Do you do a mental list of, let's say, a particular client? You go out looking for homes. You haven't found it yet, but do you actually do some kind of note of so you remember what they're after?
Always, you're always.
It's not just meant.
No, and you're
How good are
talking
you?
to them. You're talking to them, and you're just trying to figure out what's going to fit them best. If they got the family, or if they got a business, internet might be a problem. If they got a home business, living out in the rural area,
Yes.
Internet's a biggie
Nowadays, yeah.
So you got to think about those things.
Are you in Spokane or out north?
I'm in Clayton. I've lived in this area all my life, though.
So you go 395 all the time?
We do now, yes. We did
Okay.
2 for years.
Okay. I know 395 very well.
Yep.
So out of the 2, obviously, you obviously probably enjoy being out in the field running. And not always. I understand that there are always exceptions to the rule, but going out and spending time with your client and showing houses, would you say that was a little bit?
That's always fun to look at people's properties. But that's why we love to look at the internet so much at people's houses on the market, because we like to look and get ideas of what things are out there.
Right.
So of course it's fun to look at, and I do a lot of land and acreage also, so I like to walk lines on property and make sure that they're marked properly for my clients, and make sure all the power is set, the septic, everything's within their lines.
Do your training classes, when you're talking about this stuff, do you learn about this stuff?
You do not.
You have to do it while you're on.
I was blessed to start out at Real Estate Marketplace out in Deer Park, and they are big land and acreage people, and I lived out there. I mean,
Right.
that's where I grew up. So land and acreage is my life, and it's kind of, I really enjoy it. But we would have, and I'm a new agent. I don't know anything really about this, but we had meetings. This was a great office. We had meetings where the broker would take us out, and we'd walk property lines. You know, he'd give us a description, a legal description, and go, have fun, southwest corner, 4 quarter, this and that and that. But fortunately, Mr. Palmer, who is the managing broker for Palmer's out in Deer Park, Junior, he now holds a class for the city agents, so they can kind of understand real estate out in land and acreage, because it's a total different beast, and a lot of them get scared, and a lot of them don't do a good job.
Right.
And maybe they don't have a agent that knows anything about it either, so they kind of fuddle through it.
So you got hands-on training.
Absolutely.
That made it. So you're not. So when it comes to this, definitely makes it easier for you, because you actually know if you have a question, you can actually check it yourself.
And I have the resources to find it. And if I don't, I have the resources I can find out. That's the goal. I mean, you don't know everything.
Right.
You
right.
got to be able to source out and find your answers.
Do you have, when you're saying that, obviously, yeah, you can't know everything, and you always have questions. So you have your go-to people that you've over the years, obviously.
You build relationships with people.
That's you need that over time.
Yeah, relationships. That's kind of going away. People are forgetting about that, and this technology with the web. But real estate is about relationships, and we sit behind. Everybody hides behind these computers, and everybody's web page this, web page that, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old. I'm resisting a little bit, but I still think that the old-fashioned.
Well, it's kind of like what we're doing. This is getting to know one-on-one, talking to people, learning. You know, somebody could sit down and type in everything. My questions and your answers, and yet I don't think that comes across the same as being talking one-on-one. Actually, because talking to you right now, there's questions that come up in my head as you talk.
Absolutely.
And so it's a good thing. For me, at least, I always enjoy interaction with people. That's one of my, I get frustrated when I can't.
Yeah.
So was money an instigator when you started to do this?
Absolutely not. It wasn't. I didn't know much about it. Okay. So when I got into this, I'm 100% agent now. So I make almost all my commission I bring home. I don't split it. When I started, it was a 50-50 split. So if I made money, I split it with my broker.
Okay.
You put in your time, and then I got better and better, and I didn't need that support system anymore, even though it's still there. I could probably call them up and say, hey, and that's just that community in real estate. But there's a community that
you have, maybe?
There is a bond there. There's, just like in any business, there's a stronger, there's some people that are a bit stronger bond-wise, and then there's some people who just want.
Sure.
They're just out there to hustle.
Right. And you're old enough and had an experience with people to know what you can sense those pretty fast, can't you, these days?
Usually, you can. I don't waste much time, because my time's worth money.
Correct.
It's value. Everybody's time is worth money. It's valuable. That's why we go to a job every day. So I'm not an information line necessarily. If you're ready to work with me, I'm happy to help with information.
Right.
But I'm not just there to look up a piece of property if you're curious.
Sure. What you do? What do you love about it?
Well, obviously making matches with homes, helping sellers sell their homes. It's just such a really good feeling to be able to do a good job.
What would be the craziest response you got when you finally actually? And I don't know. Do you actually? Since I've never done this, do you actually go, "Here's your key" and walk them in, or however? What was the craziest response when you finally said the house is yours? What would be the craziest, happiest response?
Everybody's pretty darn happy. I don't know if I've ever had crazy response.
Just big hugs and thank you.
Usually just kind of that, and then everything. If you help, I need this, or help, I need that, or can you find this out for me?
Sure.
And then everything kind of gets quiet, and that's when you know the job was done.
There you go.
Everything's quiet. There's no alarms going on. We did it.
What would be a thing that you hate most about the job? You wish you could change, or I'm not trying to be negative, but there's got to be something you don't like.
Don't like about we're supposed to be cooperating out there, and some realtors just, there's egos.
Yep.
There's egos.
Yeah,
Some
just
people have
like
been
in
in the
everything.
business. Just like with everything, there's egos, and it's hard. You see real estate shows. I think I'm watching one, Sunset Real Estate, right now. It's real like Melrose play, or not. I'm totally dating myself. Housewives. Housewives in real estate, but they're working in $1 million properties, and they're boasting about these $167,000 commissions. Folks, that's not Spokane's market,
that's not this.
and they're very niche. I mean, we have all kinds of realtors. We have laid back. We have people that just do a couple of things, but people that do a lot of things. So it's all over the spectrum. And the point is just to be professional and cooperate with each other. Leave your ego at the door. Just get the job done. And that's how I am. Just get the job done.
Right.
Do a good job.
That usually works best for you in the long run anyway,
It really does.
because that comes back around. So when somebody needs your assistance, or they're going to give you a referral, because they know you're going to take care of that without the BS that comes with it, correct?
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's-
no, it's just get down to work with me. I'm not going to play games with other realtors out there. I don't want to do that. I just want to do a good job.
Right. Take care of the customer.
Take care of the customer.
Take care of the situation.
Yes, sir.
What advice would you give somebody that wants to get into real estate? What would you advise them to do, to look into,
Probably,
to clarify?
They can go and get their education on their 90 hours, whatever, but they really need to research their offices, whether they're going to go in as independent. There's different breaks out there with different companies. What I'm trying to say is 50% off people aren't necessary, or the 50% in. Let me start over.
That's right. Go ahead.
So commission with the 50%. So this is how that works. Everybody always talks about the 6% out there. We make 6%. So if you do go into contract, because that is a negotiable fee. So but say you negotiated 6% with your selling agent, and now they got it on the market. Now they got a buyer coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now that 6%, we offer cooperation fee. So if a buyer comes in, an agent brings in a cooperating buyer. So now our 50%, our 6%, we're going to split that 50% with this cooperation. So now we're at 3%.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm doing a 50-50 split here. So now we're at 3%. So 3% goes to the listing agent and 3% goes to the buyer's agent.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the agent, but their office, because we all work under umbrellas. So if
Okay.
you're in a 50% split, when you do finally close your purchase, yes, you've got 3%, which is still great, but now you got to split that
Within the office.
50%.
Right.
So now
Okay.
you're down to 1.5% commission.
Okay.
And in the beginning, that's really good to work under a 50% structure when you're learning.
Right.
And then as you get better, the structure changes a little bit. There's agencies out there that'll start at a 70-30 split. I make 100%. I just do a little transaction fee.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on where you're at in your level. And if you need a lot of hand holding, you're going to be paying a little bit up front, but that's the cost of learning.
Right.
And
Right.
and the better you get, as in any
And the
job,
more you know.
the more you know, the more you invest in your business, the more you make.
Nice.
So if I really wanted to get out there and hustle, it could be a bright sky, but I
Right.
like my level.
Would you say because of the family and your home life that you don't have to hustle like somebody else might have to?
Well, it just depends. Everybody's situation is different.
Correct.
Some people, again, I'll go back to that show. She's married to a famous movie star, but she's going to go and work at this agency with hundreds of thousands of dollars of commissions. And like I said, I think it's probably they don't have to do that, but maybe just working towards their legacy as a family. That's all I'm doing, is just trying to put a legacy in place for my family someday. And right now, it's just we're working real estate.
The market's been hot, correct, the last several years?
It has been.
And I know it flexes. I've been around it, even though I haven't had to do it. I've been in construction for years, so I'm aware of things. Do you find, are you more, what's the word, how do I say this? Or ask the question, consistent year to year now?
Oh yeah, it's increasing year to year.
Okay.
At this point, My
Is it-
accountant says I'm right up there with other agents that are well known in the area, so that's good news. But I don't pay attention necessarily to that's
Sure.
great.
Yeah, you just are. You're after yourself, and you're not in competition, which probably works better for you and should work for anybody.
Nobody wants me in competition with them. I'll break them under. No, just teasing.
There's no confidence, security there, huh?
I'm just teasing. Not really, but
Well, you've been doing this a while. You're secure in what you do and how you do it. And,
I
and
enjoy it. I
You've
really
made your mistakes. Any major mistake that you've made in your 11 years that you wish no one else to make?
not that I am aware of necessarily,
Okay.
because I'm not. I've kept away from courts.
That
That's
would be-
every agent's dream. We work really hard, and again, I just follow that code of ethics and try to
Right.
do that every time. As far as mistakes, no. I may have bought a stove once. It was a property with a tenant in it, and when I marketed the property, the sellers did not mention that the stove belonged to the tenants, and so that was not put in the paperwork. And so when the new buyer came through, the stove wasn't included, so I threw in a gift card so they could buy a stove.
Well,
That's business.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
yeah, it could have been worse than way worse than that.
That's probably everybody has a realtor, like I forget what they call it, but there's always money that goes out usually.
Right.
You're just
Something
making things
happens,
right.
big or
Maybe
small.
some
Hopefully,
house cleaning for somebody, or
Right.
maybe a ring
you were
doorbell
talking-
that somebody took.
and you were talking about before we started the interview. We were talking about little stuff that you have found yourself doing, just because it's part of what you do to sell somebody else's home, such as cleaning a house, shoveling snow. What else?
Just last week, I was sweeping, helping a house cleaner. She had a few hours to get things done, and the house needed a lot more work, and so I was there to supervise her. I picked up a broom. I helped her out. Big deal. FHA financing. Sometimes some paint needs to be done. I'll grab a paintbrush and I'll get out there and I'll pick up every little piece of speck of paint on that ground, because that FHA appraiser will find it.
Mhm.
You just got to do little things. There's agents out there that won't
Right.
step up and do that, and they've said that, but I tend to do it a little bit.
And you're already aware of that, so you already try to take that out of that
If it's
situation.
helping a buyer or seller,
Yeah.
we just want to get to the finish line here. Everybody does.
What are appraisers easy to deal with, pain and butt, or is it depends
You
on the
really
appraiser?
don't even talk to appraisers. They
Okay.
just come in and do their thing. If you think you're going to argue an appraisal, good luck.
Right.
They usually, if that's what they say, that's where it's going to probably
Yeah,
stay.
they have the power on that.
They
until
have the power, and hopefully your agent's protected you in your purchase and sell, or your with the verbiage with appraisals.
Anything else that someone would need to know if they want to get into realtor, become a realtor, or get into real estate, whatever aspect? And I know there's so many different aspects. There's a broker, a realtor.
There are now we're everybody knows the term realtor. Everybody's a realtor, but there's managing brokers, and then now the term 7 years, 8 years, I don't even know now. They turned us into brokers. We're not realtors, but everybody knows that term.
Right.
Technically, we're brokers, and we're under managing brokers, and those are the guys that run the offices,
Okay.
the KWs, the professional realty services, the Windermere's, and then that's the one you contract. You hang your license there, and then whatever your deal is, with that company, that's how you work.
So you're a manager, as well
I
as.
am just a broker,
Okay.
not the managing broker. The managing brokers are the ones that kind of
Okay.
run the offices.
Yeah, but don't you run your own office?
We do, but we're independent, different.
Okay.
It's different. So
Okay.
we have different insurances involved,
Sure.
but they're a really good source for if shit hits the fan. You can get there and say, hey, this is going on, and they, that's what's so great about having a managing broker.
Okay.
Even though I'm not in my office every single day, they're there. My support system's there every single day, so it's just a phone call away.
Nice. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just that it's not easy money. It takes a lot of work. It's tiring, it's stressful, but it's rewarding also.
Good and bad, just like anything.
Good and bad, just like everything.
Anything else? Any other questions, young man?
Yes.
No, none.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Nice
Appreciate
meeting you.
it.
Nice talking to you. You never know. We may come back, get a hold of you again, interview you again down the
Yay.
road, so we can enlighten and educate people, because I've obviously learned stuff today.
If you got more questions, let me know.
Certainly appreciate it.
I'm available.
Thank you for checking out Career Paths,
Yeah.
becoming a broker,
Woo-woo.
a broker,
A broker, a realtor broker.
/ live and learn. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
Sweet.
Thanks.